thought I would just start off by doing a quick little project. A quick video, and I thought, you know what? No time better than now to get this started. So what I'm going to be doing tonight is taking the scrap piece of wood that I have, and then I took out of an old hymnal just a sheet of music sheet. And then I'm going to be using a stencil out of the Vintage Hobbies package from Essential Stencil. And the one I'm going to be doing tonight is the sewing machine. I think I'm going to go ahead and tape off this flower vase because when I saw this sewing machine, it reminded me of my grandma. And I thought, you know, she loved church music, she loved to sew, and it's close to Mother's Day, and it kind of just was tugging on my heartstrings. And then Essential Stencil also has a package of 20 Mother's Day words, and there just so happens to be the word grandma on there. So I'm gonna start off by decoupaging my paper, if I can get a hold of it, onto my scrap piece of wood. I might actually put a quick layer of paint. I apologize, I really should have given this more thought because I just finished a live over on Facebook. So I'm going to be using some cottage white. No, excuse me, this is not cottage white, it's folk art. Yep, it is folk art cottage white. I use Waverly usually, but tonight we're going to do the cottage white. And I'm just going to actually paint this board so that my music sheet pops out a little bit better. It is so nice here today, but we're expecting snow, if you can believe it. It's supposed to be coming in. Actually, for whatever reason, I keep thinking tomorrow is Friday, and it's only Thursday. Maybe I'm just wishing it was Friday. Okay, so once I got a layer of that paint on, I'm going to take my dryer, and this is going to be a really quick craft. You could almost call it a 5-minute craft. So once I got that dry, we're going to take this glue. It's called Fusion Mineral Decoupage and Transfer Gel. Hi Laura, how are you? And we're going to use that to decoupage our music sheet on. Hi Kinsey. Sorry, this is my very first live, so I'm not used to the comments being on my phone. Give me liberty. Welcome. Welcome, you guys. Thanks for being here. I actually wasn't expecting anybody to jump on. So that's kind of a nice treat. Okay, so once I got that painted, here is my music sheet. And we're just going to open this glue. Kinsey, I am making just a little Mother's Day memorabilia, I guess is what I'm going to call it. I have this stencil that I'm using from Essential Stencil, and it has a sewing machine on it, and it automatically reminded me of my grandmother because she was a sewer, and she also loved her church and her church music. And I have a little cutout stencil that says grandma on it. So this is just a project that I'm doing for me that reminds me of my grandmother. With Mother Day approaching, and she's been gone several years, but she was a big part of my life growing up, and I sure miss her. So now I'm just going to take this music sheet and adhere it on to my board. And I'm going to give this a quick dry here. So thank you all for being here. If you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel. Like I said, this is my very first live on YouTube. Oh, thank you so much. It's been several years ago. Yep, I'm an avid crafter. I love to craft. I have a Facebook page, but with all the changes on Facebook and stuff, I wanted to try to do something different and branch out onto YouTube. So here I am, and it's definitely a different platform that I'm not used to. So I'll get all the kinks worked out. This looks like I missed a little bit. I might take, sometimes that transfer glue doesn't work as well as it should. So I'm actually just going to take a little bit of Mod Podge and stick it down with my, on the corner here. And if I would have known that people would have been on here, I would have actually brought it up on my computer, but I didn't think that anybody would jump on tonight. So thanks for being here. Yeah, for some reason my corners didn't take with that glue. But now we got it. So once I got that stuck on there, I'm just going to take my gator sander. And we're going to take off that extra paper. If you guys don't have one of these and you're a crafter, you're missing out. They're a lifesaver. Of course, you could still use a nail file if you had one, or the burn method, which I'm not too keen on that burn method. It kind of scares me. Okay, one more side. It looks like a big old book. Okay, and I'm okay with the little wrinkles. And there's our board with the hymnal sheet on it. Let me just clean up my mess. I didn't even put down any cover or anything on this. This was super sporadic. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is take my stencil. And again, this is from the Vintage Hobbies collection. It comes with a sew machine, has a little vase of flowers, which I think I'm gonna eliminate from this craft, and then it comes with 2 others, and I'll show you what those look like real quick. This is some paintbrushes with flowers, and then this is a wheelbarrow with flowers. I just love these. I love that wheelbarrow. I'm definitely gonna have to give those a try. So these stencils are from Essential Stencil and are part of the Mother's Day collection. And if you guys are interested in any stenciling and decide you would like to order something, if you use my code at checkout, Gingerlee, Gingerlee at checkout, it will save you 10%. Well, hi Janice, how are you? So good to see a familiar face on here. I was getting ready to do a short craft, to like a quick craft, and then I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna do a live on YouTube while I'm in here. So this is my quick craft on YouTube. So once again, I'm gonna just X out that flower because I don't want the flower on here. I just want the sewing machine. And this is gonna be really tight. It's pretty close to the edge here. And then we're just gonna take some black chalk paint. How are you doing, Janice? Okay. You guys, I should have cleaned this before I came live. Now I gotta find my black paint. I will tell you right now, I'm not usually this unorganized, but that's what happens when you just spontaneously do something, right? I know I have black paint sitting here somewhere. I can't imagine where it would have gotten to. There's my paint brushes. Oh, for goodness sakes. There it is, right in front of my face. Oh gosh, that is too funny. Okay. And then I'm going to be using an Essential Stencils stencil brush as well. So I used to try to stencil a lot when I was first getting started in crafting, and I always failed miserably. And I kind of gave it up until one day I was watching a fellow crafter, and she had these great brushes that she used when she was stenciling. And instead of doing the traditional up and down motion, she actually took her brush and she was swirling it on a paper. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I watched her a lot, and she raved about how great these stencil brushes were. So I decided I better give those brushes a try. And that is how I started my love for stenciling, because these brushes and these stencils are so much different than what you can buy retail. I don't have near the bleeding that I once had with traditional stencil brushes. And like I said, I go in the swirling motion instead of the up and down motion, which is, some people still do the up and down motion. I just have better luck doing the swirling. And the trick is to, when you load the paint onto your brush, make sure you offload it so you're not using too much paint. That is key. And I think I will probably give this a quick dry and go over it again, just to make sure that we get all of those filled in. And you gotta excuse me, I've been talking a lot. I needed some water. And I can see areas where my stencil doesn't have the full coverage over that paper. So I'm just gonna grab a little bit more paint, offload it, and then go back over the stencil again. And usually after the second time you have pretty good coverage. Although some paints, if you're going over something dark and you have an acrylic paint, sometimes it does take 3 times to go over it to cover your surface. So I call this a 5-minute craft, and it's definitely a little longer than 5 minutes, but it's gonna be a quick one. Okay, now I'm gonna remove this. Oh, look how pretty that is. Isn't that gorgeous? And since this reminds me of my grandma growing up with her sewing machine, she taught me how to sew when I was young, and I would always sit next to her in her chair as she was sewing. And I remember her telling me this story. She'd say that I'd tell her, we can't sew anymore because I have to stop and I need to suck my thumb. So I would sit beside her and stop my sewing and suck on my thumb. So I'm not sure. I think I kind of want to have this, I don't want it completely straight, I don't think, but maybe I do. Maybe we will. And I'm going to take another piece of this tape, hoping that it doesn't tear my paper. I'm a little worried about that. Actually, I might just hold on to this stencil. Yeah, it'll probably be fine. Just a little piece right there. It's really hard to see where it's lined up because of the wording underneath of it. And we're going to do the same thing on this stencil. This brush might be just a tad bit too big. Simply because, oh, that was not good. Shoot. And I just used my last stencil brush, darn it. Let me see. Let me see if I can get this one cleaned up enough, because I'm telling you, these brushes are the best, and I've got to get me some more order today. I've been doing so many different stencil projects, I run out of them quickly. So I'm just kind of cleaning this off and drying it real quick. This is not normally what you would do. Yep. She'd let me run the little foot pedal, and she was just the sweetest thing. Boy, have times changed, Janice. Like, Siley's grandma sure isn't going to be doing any sewing machine work. But she'll remember me crafting all the time, right? I should say Ridley and Riley's grandma, too. They know that I'm a crafter. Actually, my other granddaughter from Oklahoma loves to craft. And I'm just being really careful around these edges, so I am doing a little bit of pouncing because I don't want to get off this stencil. And I actually am going to put on my glasses because I'm having a hard time seeing that little writing there. Oh shoot, and I did go off my page, darn it. And that's one thing I did not want to do. So you need to be really careful when you have something small like this, not to let it bleed off your page, especially when you have like the paper I do underneath. Now I do have some itty bitty detailing brushes that are also from Essential Stencil, and since this is so close to the page, I'm just going to go ahead and use that to fill in my last letter here. Just so I don't have a bunch of bleed and get it all over the paper. And there it is. It says Grandma, and there's just a itty bitty tiny piece of black right there, but that's honestly not going to bother me too much. I might take this baby wipe and see if I can get it off, which is probably unlikely. Looks like it did come off a little bit, but I don't want to ruin the paper underneath either. So we're going to leave it alone because I'm just making it worse than it actually was, but that's okay because we're going to make this look a little older and kind of grunge it up a little bit. I unfortunately don't know what you're saying, Daniel. I don't speak the language you're speaking. And I don't have any way to translate it, so I apologize. Okay. So that was a fun, quick little craft. And let's go ahead and put some wax on there, and then we're going to call it good. But look how cute that is. And if you wanted to, you could put a little bow up here or some jewels, or you know what would be really great? Actually, I might do this real quick. It'd be fun to put a couple little buttons up there. So let me get my buttons out. And I'm just going to use a couple little black ones. Surely I can find some black buttons in this big old mess. It'd be great if you could find a couple little bobbins, sewing bobbins or something to put on here too. And where I have my little ink spot, I can certainly cover that up with a button too if I wanted to. But I think I'll leave it. But maybe we'll put a couple buttons right there in the corner. Maybe on the other side. There's a lot going on over here with the wording. I'm hoping you guys can see this okay. Yeah, I think we're gonna do that. You're from Moscow? I am from the United States. All right, let's take some of my wax. And we're just gonna take this little brush with some paper towels, and I get in this wax, and I kind of offload the wax as well onto my paper towel. And this is just bare wax that I get from like Hobby Lobby. And I'm just literally gonna go around the edges of this, making it look more worn, like it's been around for many years. Age up this paper a little bit. And that kind of just finishes off the craft for tonight after we get this wax on there. But what a great memorabilia for myself or anyone else. I'm sure that there's lots of people that have great memories of their grandmas with their sewing machines, and she used to sew us clothes and stuff too. She crocheted a bunch. I did learn to crochet, but it's not my favorite. Excuse me, I'm sorry. See how that just kind of turns the paper old and grungy looking. And I'm actually gonna just lightly go over the top of it as well, just so it's not stark white. That's why I said where that little boo-boo happened, we're just gonna put a little wax there and it'll look intentional. Okay. I'm gonna add just a little bit more wax around the edges just to darken those up. And then we're gonna call it good. So this was not quite a 5-minute craft, but it certainly was a quick one. And again, if you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel. And I'm gonna be jumping on here more often with more tutorials similar to this one. Most of my crafts last close to an hour, but this one's just quick tonight, so. All right, well, here it is. And that's the finished product. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Thank you. We'll see ya.